the really high gearing on this DRZ doesn't help matters at all. Kind of neat to ride a trail from both directions because it completely changes the view, the scenery, the terrain, the rideability of the trail, the level of challenge and whatnot. Like that little hill. Actually, I should say this long hill. If I had the bike set at 1447, I did just shift into second, but second gear is my normal gear for riding trails, except on really technical, challenging stuff. But I just downshifted back to first. With trail gearing, I would be able to carry just a little bit more speed and yet be in second. Where if I go to second right now, it's just a little bit too tall for me, for my level of comfort and whatnot. I mean, right now it's working okay. But even with trail gearing in 1447, in second gear, I can still tractor through a lot of stuff and not have to shift down to first, unless I practically come to a complete stop. I switched back to street gearing on this, or stock gearing, because I really don't have a whole lot of intention anymore of doing any challenging, technical, long trail riding on this old beast. It's early in the day right now. It's probably about 10:30ish. Yeah, actually it's almost 11. So the sun is out in front of me off to the right just a little bit. So that kind of changes the view and perspective too. Late in the day, if I was going this way, the sun would be at my back. This is kind of a neat little ride back here through this area of trees where it's burned some and then not burned. I thought my camera stopped recording. I think I need to switch to the little tall magnet mounting foot, whatever, so that I can see that little recording indicator up in the upper left corner of the screen, and also to see the upper right corner to see that the screen is actually lit up. I don't know if the camera screen goes to sleep after a while or not. I think that it may. This is a DJI Osmo Action 4. Yeah, it must go to sleep because back there in the dark I can't see anything in the upper right. At a minimum I should be able to see the battery life indicator, which is a very prominent little white icon. It's kind of deceiving. There was a spot right back there where there looked like there was a side trail that went off to the right. It's probably just a wildlife path. Really neat wildflowers blooming up here. Some purple ones and some red ones. Some white ones too, and then some yellow ones. Okay, time for first gear. Kind of wish I would have taken off my jacket before I started this trail. I left camp without my jacket, got about 4 miles away or 2 miles away or so, and thought, you know what, I better take my jacket just because. So I went back to camp and put it on. Then we get back through this area where it got absolutely incinerated during the 2018 fire. Holy crap. This is where I got lost coming back down here that time, because it looked like the trail went that way, and it still literally does look like a trail bed up there. So I went up there, parked the bike, and then walked all over the place for about 15 minutes. Could not figure out where the trail was. And then I lost my bike. So once I found the bike and figured out where the trail really was, I took some of those dang logs, dead trees, and piled them right there to keep people from doing the same thing that I did. But it was so silly that I literally lost my DRZ up there. I ended up hiking or walking way off in that direction. I think that had to have been 2 years ago. Yeah, because I didn't ride any last year after breaking my wrist until fall is when I got back on the bike again. So that likely was 2022. These kind of trails on this big heavy bike are not fun, going zigzagging and switchbacking around trees. Whoa! Let's stay on the route. I see a big cloud of dust. So somebody is up here somewhere. Probably a side-by-side. Kind of looked like the dust cloud was headed uphill. I don't see any dust down here now. Oh, no, there it is. So it's ahead of me. Or maybe not. I don't know. I'll just quit rambling. Yeah, I'd have to say it definitely is ahead of me. Back behind me, if you continue to go up that hill, not very far up there, there's a gate that blocks access to that private land. And then we can continue on out this road back to the main road that I used to get to this trail. So you can access it from two different directions, or two different ways. So this spot right here, when the last time that I came back here and tried to connect the trail, when I got lost at the other end, I think I was on my KTM, I finally gave up and went back down to this end, rode up this, parked the bike, hiked around a little bit, and then I was able to connect the dots and make it all the way through, and tied a bunch of ribbon. But two different times since then, when I've ridden the trail the way I rode earlier, which is the opposite of what I'm going right now, twice I still missed the turn at that spot where the trail looks like it goes left up that old two-track path. And these dang little trees make it tricky. See, right in this area, it gets really vague. And then it kind of restores itself again and becomes more prominent. And that spot right there is where twice I have still shot off to the right. And the very first time me and a friend rode back here, holy cow, ouch. We could not figure out where the trail went whatsoever. I think I don't know, we may have made it back this far, right into this area. And I bet that was probably 3 years ago. Could not find any bike tracks or any evidence of even a remotely defined path at all. Now, we actually may have stopped right here and hiked up in that general vicinity, up that two-track. Couldn't figure out if the trail went up that old two-track or shot across the road somewhere else. So we walked up and down the road for a little ways, both directions. Finally just gave up. Oh, nice brush clearing there. On this big heavy DRZ, I would say that bugs in my mouth. I would say the trail's probably just a little bit easier to ride the other direction, the way I started out. Just because going through where the trail sort of vanished, where I was rambling about that, and getting through those little spindly trees where it made it a little bit more difficult. Yeah, that. And then going through some of those bigger trees, I didn't really have that much of an issue whatsoever going the other direction. It's just the angle of approach, how you come into one of those turns, how the trail's angled and all that good stuff makes it totally different as far as the rideability. And a lot of that's attributed, or my struggling with the bike is a lot of that's attributed to the fact that this DRZ is so heavy and fat. Of course, this is easier going downhill than it is up with this stock gearing and loose dirt. This fall, when I come back out and ride this trail again after it's in damp conditions, I'll probably pack my little saw or brush nippers and do a little bit of brush clearing just so that some of these tree branches don't hit you in the face. Some of this shrubbery is just a never-ending battle keeping it trimmed back, like all this leafy green nonsense. That stuff really proliferates after a fire. Overall, this is probably the sketchiest section of this trail, is this side hill where it's kind of rocky and really narrow. And not much of a trail bed. Holy crap. Wow, I really botched that. I couldn't tell exactly which direction the trail went, and I am not going to risk sliding off the trail any more than I've already started to do. Anytime I have issues on trails like in this situation, and when I ride the trail again, I always vividly remember, okay, this is a spot where I've had issues before, so I need to gas it. Or I need to stay to one side or the other, or whatever. if I had stock, not stock, but trail gearing on this bike, that would probably not have caused an issue like it did just now. So I just want to roll back here a ways. Whoa. So oh crap, now I'm off the trail on the uphill side. Just so I can get a little bit of momentum. Need to resituate and get back on the trail, because a few feet behind me it levels out quite a bit. So that's exactly the spot that I want to start my run at this hill at. Yeah. There we go. Piece of cake with the right technique. There may have been an initial attempt at reviving this trail after the first fire 26 years or 30 years ago, because a lot of these logs, they have been cut for a long, long time. And I don't believe that the trail ever went through all the way to the other end until after the second fire, because I've been riding up at this area for many years, and that segment of trail at the other end where it comes down to the creek crossing, it would look like matchsticks down across the trail for all those years until the second fire. So it's 11 o'clock now.